And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Once again, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Happy to be here with you. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. You can go and visit them for sales and service Monday through Saturday. And of course, you can go and look at new and used vehicles, and you can buy and lease from Great Lakes Honda City simply by going over there, talking with somebody in their team. And I can't thank them all enough, from Elijah to Malik and Mark and everybody over at Great Lakes Honda City. Really do appreciate the way that they have handled me over the years and making sure that I have a great ride where I feel safe and it's affordable. And just, I don't like going to dealerships, but I like going over to Great Lakes Honda City and talking with people that actually sit down with me and care about me and appreciate my service to them, and their service, I appreciate back. And, when I say appreciate my service to them, I've been at Great Lakes Honda City, the former Honda City of Liverpool, and, you get a car and you've gotten a bunch from them, and they come out to you and they say, thank you. Thank you for doing business with us. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for choosing us. And so that's when I say, appreciating, service back, because that you don't always get that, right? People don't always say that to you. They don't always appreciate that. So I want to thank Great Lakes Honda City for all that they do, and definitely value them and value being over there. So I know when it comes to buying a car, leasing a car, trying to find the right fit, it's not always a fun excursion, but that's why I tell you to go to Great Lakes Honda City, because they're who I've trusted for over a decade, and I just appreciate going there. I love my I love the CRV. I have for many, many years. I love my 2025, and my dad gets his Ridgeline over there. He just got a different one now. He's got a different color blue, and he got the sport one, so it's got these different elements to it, and you can not only get a vehicle that you like, but you can get different versions of that vehicle. And so, I love the CRV that I have. He loves the Ridgeline that he has. Little bells and whistles. I never was a bells and whistles person. I don't need to have the bells and whistles. And, I went there one time, and it was more affordable to buy the upgraded version of a CRV than to buy the LX. And I think I got like the EX or the EXL or something like that. And leather seats, and they just heated seats, sunroof. I wanted to have a sunroof. That's something I wanted to have, but I was like, man, I don't need all the bells and whistles. I'm not that type of person. I'm not a materialistic person. And then I got to drive one of these, and I was like, man, there's a lot of, it's just like now it's there. It's sleek. It's comfortable. I appreciate it. And the heated seats in the winter, man, jump right in the car, turn the heated seats on. So I don't need it, but I absolutely appreciate it. And like I said, there's just a lot of things that you can get at Great Lakes Honda City, and you can get a car that you've driven for years, but maybe you get a different version of it, like my dad did with the Ridgeline, or like I did a few years back with the CRV. So head over there today, let him know that DT sent you, and much love and appreciation to the only dealership that I go to, Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. We are up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You're with us on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. So appreciate you wherever you are for being with us here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I cannot thank you enough for that. Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Appreciate your patience here this morning. We got an awesome show set up for you today, and we'll have the opportunity to do our 3 signature segments that we do on a Friday. The Annoying Moment of the Week, proudly presented by Carvel DeWitt, followed by Lead, proudly presented by Chick-fil-A Cicero. The acronym Learn, Evolve, Adlib, and Deliver. And then the Top Dog of the Week will be announced, proudly presented by the wonderful team at K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare, led by Lorraine and Chad. And we'll round out the show in less than an hour. We'll have Turnell Sims at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time on the broadcast. Syracuse Orange offensive line alum, part of the 1987 undefeated team, the last undefeated team at Syracuse, and one of only 2 undefeated teams ever at Syracuse for the football side of things. So very excited for that. And of course, we will also talk with him about being the president of the Syracuse Football Club. So a lot of great stuff coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. With that being said, let's jump right into the annoying moment of the week.
Dan Tortora proudly brings you...
Is that for real? Are you kidding me?
The annoying moment of the week.
I really, honestly, I don't know how to respond to this.
Presented by Carvel DeWitt, 4322 East Genesee Street. It's what happy tastes like.
Do you have to be that crazy? I guess so.
The annoying moment of the week, proudly presented by Carvel DeWitt here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And thank you to Tukey for always supporting and watching and listening. Appreciate you. I see you here in the feed, so appreciate you very much. The annoying moment of the week, I got a few different ones that we're going to discuss here because I found some crazy news. So we're going to get into a few different annoying moment of the weeks. And the first one that I'll get into is looking at, I guess we can go here to this one because I'm going to go to a few of them today, but a quote, very mean squirrel seeking food has sent at least 2 people to the emergency room in a California city. Apparently there's a flyer up that says this is not a joke. More than 5 people have been attacked by a very mean squirrel over the past few days on Diablo Circle. And so that's interesting. Right? A circle named after the devil. Well, there you go. And so it says residents of a San Francisco Bay Area city are on the lookout for an aggressive squirrel that sent at least 2 people to the emergency room for medical treatment. Joan Heblick told ABC affiliate KGO-TV that she was walking in the Lucas Valley neighborhood of San Rafael when a squirrel seemingly came out of nowhere, attacked her leg, clawing and biting. She said, quote, it clamped onto my leg. The tail was flying up here. I was like, get it off me, end quote, Heblick said. Isabel Campoy also said she was attacked while walking in the same area. The squirrel launched itself from the ground to her face and wound up on her arm, leaving it bloody, she said. Both women went to the emergency room. Flyers have now been posted warning residents that the squirrel is no joke and that more than 5 people have been attacked by a, quote, very mean squirrel that, quote, comes out of nowhere. Lisa Block with Marin Humane says they have had no reports of squirrel attacks since mid-September. If the squirrel crops up again, the nonprofit will coordinate with the state to remove the animal, she said. So, crazy here. But Diablo Circle and an angry squirrel, you don't say. So I'm just saying, maybe you should stop calling circles, maybe you should stop naming things after the devil. And out in California, if there's some devilish behavior and there's a devilish squirrel there, I don't know, maybe some of those things happening out on the West Coast rubbed off on the squirrel. I don't know. But I would just suggest to people, yes, be careful. In California, maybe you don't know squirrels like we know squirrels out here. We know that they could be advantageous. We know that they could be a little hungry. We know they can be a little rowdy. But, you know, I had a squirrel hiss at me before in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And I thought that was weird. And then somebody told me, they're like, squirrels don't hiss, Dan. And I was like, well, it was me and the squirrel on the sidewalk. He was in the tree, or she, whatever that squirrel was, up in the tree. And I'm walking. And I heard a hiss. And it didn't come from me. So it was the squirrel, because there was only 2 of us on that sidewalk area. And so I would suggest that squirrels do hiss, because obviously it hissed when I went by. And now people are talking about this dangerous squirrel that is coming up and attacking them. And so is it true? Is it not true? We don't know, but hopefully those women are okay. Don't want to hear about anybody getting hurt by the squirrel or by anyone. I just, squirrels are interesting little characters. I will say that. And they can move pretty swiftly. So I would just say look out. Now, would you call, since they move swiftly, would you call fans of squirrels Swifties? But but I'm just saying. But yeah, so the squirrel, strange occurrence there, but out in California, there's some strange things that happen, are there not? So some things that people don't talk about. Let's stay with animals here. Bear walked into a southern Arizona grocery store and ran around for a few minutes. How much is a few minutes? How did the squirrel get it in the grocery store? Could you imagine, right? Because most grocery stores now, I would think, unless you're in like a small town, like a rural area, I think most of them have automatic doors. Could you imagine hearing ding ding and then like the doors open and then you're just sitting there in the back eating a sandwich in Arizona, thinking to yourself like nobody comes through here. There's not any action. Like you're working security. And there's nothing that ever happens with security, thank God. So you're just hanging out, doing nothing, and you hear ding ding, and then you're just sitting there eating your sandwich, and you happen to look up, and you just see a bear walk in. And then the sandwich falls out of your mouth, and the turkey's on the ground, and half of the sandwich's bread falls on the floor, and you're thinking, that can't be real. It's got to be someone in a bear suit. That was a bear baby. Let's talk about it, shall we? A bear surprised shoppers at a southern... Could you imagine if that was like a Walmart? Surprise shoppers! And then people stop and listen because they think like, what's going on sale? Remember when they used to roll back their prices? And so, didn't Walmart say they were going to roll back again? It's been a while. Walmart, let's roll it. If you rolled it... And here's the thing about rollback prices. If you rolled it up and you roll it down, you're rolling it down to a price that was higher than it was anyways because you rolled it up to roll it down. There's companies that do that. I'm not saying Walmart does that, but hey, there's companies that put their price high and then they give you a deal when in actuality it's still overpriced. So, but we're conditioned that if we see like, oh, there's $5 off of something, it's like, yeah, but if it used to be 45 and they're taking $5 off to make it 40, right? If it used to be 45, they take $5 off, it's 40. But what if now they jumped it up to 65 and they go, well, we're not going to take $5 anymore. We're going to take $10 off instead of $5. Remember when we just took 5? Now we're taking 10 off, but you moved it up to 65. So it's 55. So it's still $15 more because when it used to be 45, you took 5 off, it was 40. So you're taking more off, but you raised the price of it, so it's still $15 more at 55 than it was when you took the $5 off and it was 40. So just saying, you can't fool us all. And so yeah, so the bear surprise shoppers came in. The reason why I brought up Walmart is like, bing, bing, attention shoppers, we have a special surprise. And then people are like, what's on sale? And it's like, no, there's just a bear in the store. Now, this was let's see here, near the Fry's location and was spotted again Monday behind the store before entering it. Right before entering the store, the animal bumped up against the automatic doors. There you go. What did I say? Most places have automatic doors now. Bumped up. It's good to know that they censor, or that the sensor, I mean, it's just, it sees motion, right? So it's going to open up. That's something that's got to make you feel like, could you imagine if a sensor could just know that it was a person? Right? Then if like AI continues and we continue to be stupid and we let robots overtake the earth, and people might think I sound crazy, but watch every movie ever made ever about artificial intelligence and pay attention. I don't understand why we watch movies that terrify us and then decades later we create the thing that the movie told us not to create. Makes a lot of sense, right? Age of Ultron, look it up. So, and we don't have a Hulk. That's the issue. So when you look at the sensor thing, what if a sensor could just know that it was a human being? And so it doesn't open to animals, it doesn't open to robots, it just opened to people. But this bear bumped up against the automatic door and eventually walked in. He said, so this was a spokesperson for the Oro Valley Police Department in Arizona, Darren Wright, said, quote, it just ran around. I don't think it did any damage, end quote. A video taken by a shopper showed a man looking for the bear inside the store. After peering down at his phone, the man looked up to find the bear within several feet of him. The bear ran away from the man. Okay, well, that's good. So at least the bear was, didn't have rabies, because they say things that have rabies are very social. So that was a good thing. The animal was seen at some point in the store's produce section. Isn't believed to have taken anything. So the bear was kinder than Jameis Winston was to Publix. Good to know. And an officer who was near... and Jameis, I'm just kidding. Because we all know the crab leg this story, and let's learn to laugh again, people. I'm a joking over here. So an officer who was nearby arrived at the store and... What? Oh, an officer who was nearby arrived at the store and worked to get people out of the building. Authorities lost track of the bear after it left the store. Quote, "We have had several bear sightings in Oro Valley. We occasionally get them coming out of the desert, but this is the most interesting interaction we have had with one." End quote. So good to know they've had more than one interaction, but this was the most interesting interaction with a bear. A bear that just decided to come into the store, hang out. How about this, though? They said they don't think the bear took anything, and the bear didn't cause any damage. So the bear is actually better than human beings, because human beings, since COVID, where they talk about theft rising and, people just being rude and disrespectful. So how about this? Maybe we should allow more bears in the stores than people. Because this bear did not steal, so maybe this is a little tester, right? Maybe bears could show human beings how to walk about a place, and when you forgot your wallet and you don't have a fur pocket to put it into, Mr. Bear, that he doesn't take anything. How about that? The bear did not deface or destroy or steal. Can't say that about all humans. We need to do better. Speaking of non-humans, and going back to the robot conversation, a California California. Why? Because California is a place, man. I love San Diego. There are certain parts of California that, if any of it's true on the news, which obviously you have to take news with a grain of salt, but if anything's true on the news, I'm like, no, not going there. Now, a California police vehicle pulled over a self-driving Waymo, that's what they're called, Waymo, for an illegal U-turn. But you can't ticket a car with no human in it. Do California police officers get to ticket anybody, though? So police in Northern California were understandably perplexed when they pulled over a Waymo taxi after it made an illegal U-turn, only to find there was no driver behind the wheel. How did you not know? The thing has all this stuff on it, and it's got that robotic thing on the top of its head that's spinning and whatnot. How did you not know that was a self-driving vehicle? Now, the San Bruno Police Department, there's a lot of things wrong with this. How did you look at this vehicle and not know that it was robotic? So, the San Bruno Police, but here's the thing. They pulled over the Waymo taxi, and the taxi pulled over for the cop. Interesting. The San Bruno Police Department wrote in now viral weekend social media post that officers were conducting a DUI operation early Saturday morning when a self-driving Waymo made an illegal U-turn in front of them. Officers stopped the vehicle but declined to write a ticket as their citation books don't have a box for robots. That's right, no driver, no hands, no clue, read the post, which was accompanied by photos of an officer peering into the car. Officers contacted Waymo to report what they called a quote-unquote glitch, and in the post they said that they hope reprogramming will deter more illegal moves. You don't say. A robot created by human beings made a mistake. We are not flawless, folks, so we cannot create flawless things. The departments, only God can. The departments, well, God created us, Dan. Yeah, and he gave us free will. He didn't have to. The department's Facebook post has generated more than 500 comments, with many people outraged that police didn't ticket the company. People also wanted to know how police got the car to pull over. That was my thought. But San Bruno Sergeant Scott Smith Matungle said they can only ticket a human driver or operator for a moving violation, unlike parking tickets that can be left with the vehicle. A new state law that kicks in next year will allow police to report moving violations to the Department of Motor Vehicles, which is figuring out the specifics, including potential penalties. Waymo spokesperson Julia Alina told the LA Times that the company's autonomous driving system is closely monitored by regulators. Quote, "We are looking into the situation and are committed to improving road safety through our ongoing learnings and experience," end quote. Waymo currently operate in Phoenix, that's the first time I saw one, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, and in areas south of the city, including the suburb of San Bruno. Quote, "It blew up a lot bigger than we thought," end quote, Smith Matungal said of the viral posts to the Associated Press on Tuesday. Quote, "We're not a large agency like San Francisco," end quote. San Bruno has about 40,000 residents and a sworn police force of 50 officers. Waymo is owned by Google's parent company, Alphabet. Don't you think it's weird that some of these companies just, like, their name is Alphabet? Like, what does that even mean? But yeah, so you got a self-driving car that broke the law, and you can't pull it over. Well, you can pull it over, but you can't ticket the car. So you can pull it over, you just can't do anything once you pull it over. And so that's a robot in California, but that's real life with humans in New York. How do you like that joke? That you can pull it over, but you can't ticket it. So it's absolutely crazy and insane, but it leads to a larger story that I just joked about, but not really, that there are things, and this is where people need to stop politicizing it and stop talking Democrat and Republican. There are laws in New York State that do not protect victims. There are things that are happening. There are people I know within law enforcement that are not just police officers, we're talking about lawyers and whatnot, investigators, that cannot they can't arrest anybody. They can't bring anything up for someone's arrest. You know, I spoke with a lawyer that was overseeing something with a huge department in New York, and they couldn't prosecute anyone for like 2 years. So there's people out here abusing patients, stealing money, breaking the law in all different ways, and they can't do anything to get these people off the streets because New York State law has changed, because the people that are making these laws in New York State apparently are making laws that are light on the criminal and heavy on the victim. And I say heavy on the victim because what good do you do a victim for having them be attacked, abused, and then have that person on the street later that day? So, just saying, we may have some vehicles out there that can't get ticketed, but in the state of New York, doesn't feel like you can get ticketed either in certain situations. Or you get a slap on the wrist for something that is a lot more important than that. So maybe this should open up a bigger discussion about what you can ticket for and what police are allowed to do in today's America. Because unfortunately, unless someone's a victim, they sometimes don't care. And then something happens to them or somebody they know, and all of a sudden you want to change the law because it affects you. But you didn't care about it before, or you didn't know about it before, or it didn't matter to you before because it didn't have to do with you. We have to stop doing the my neighbor approach, right? Somebody robbed my neighbor, thank goodness it wasn't me. We need to start paying attention to things that are happening and how they're affecting people before it affects you, and God willing, it never affects you. You have to look at the laws that are out there. See, I think that politicians hope that most people are stupid or just unassuming, that we're not paying attention. And those of us that do pay attention, sometimes they call those people conspiracy theorists. Sometimes they call them crazy, when in actuality, people are pointing things out. And, you know, it's funny because years and years ago, somebody would tell me something, and I'm like, man, that sounds like a crazy conspiracy. And now I look back on things, and I'm like, we literally made AI. In the movie I, Robot, I think about that because robots were created and they're intelligent and they were programmed. And then if you literally took the programming and you changed it, any human being or artificial intelligence itself could change the programming of these robots. And you could essentially affect what the robots do and how they think and how they react. And so you can make them a weapon. And iRobot was about the fact that you could take the programming of a robot and you could turn it into something awful simply by rewriting a code like you would to a computer. And now here we are creating artificial intelligence, pretending that we didn't see any of this stuff. We're unassuming, we're ignorant, we're irrational, not knowing that the stuff we saw in the movies is not crazy. It's not a conspiracy theory. If you can reprogram a computer, you can reprogram a robot. If you give something intelligence, you can tell it what to do and how to do it. If it starts to think for itself, you'll lose control over it. You know, people used to call those people insane, crazy. People used to say that people that believed in aliens were crazy, right? Aluminum foil on their heads and da-da-da-da-da. And now how many people talk about aliens and want to know about aliens? And we see it in our news now, right? These people that were considered nuts are talking about things that now some of these things are commonplace. They're normal topics of conversation. So maybe we should start paying attention to what's going on. That's all I'm going to say, because that's the real. And guess what, folks? My other annoying moment of the week? Are you ready for it? I don't know if you're ready for it. My other annoying moment of the week goes to the fact that Alabama and Georgia and Texas Tech and LSU are ranked below Penn State. And again, I have nothing against Penn State. I have nothing against the quality of player, nothing against their coaching staff, but you cannot sit here and tell me that Penn State beating 3 unranked teams, Nevada, FIU, and I have to look, and an FCS team in Villanova, who's not even in the FBS, and then losing in a close loss that's a quality game that they get credit for losing because they lost closely in overtime, puts them above an Alabama team that beat Georgia, puts them above a Georgia team that is 3-1 that already this season took down Tennessee, and puts them above a Texas Tech team that has a ranked win over the top 25. And LSU that has a win over the top 25 at time of play against Clemson and defeated Florida. You're telling me wins over Clemson and Florida, ranked or unranked, are not as good as wins over Nevada, FIU, and FCS Villanova? And I'm not discrediting these schools or the FCS. I'm asking you a question. How can you take a team that's got the same record? LSU's better. LSU's 4-1, right? LSU is 4-1. Penn State's 3-1. LSU's wins include Clemson and Florida. Penn State's wins, Nevada, FIU, and Division I AA FCS Villanova. But because they played a close game and lost to Oregon, they get credit for losing to the number 2 team in the nation. Remember when Clemson lost to the number 1 team in the nation last year in Georgia? They almost fell out of the top 25. So how did Clemson not get credit for losing? Well, they lost by a lot, Dan. They lost by a lot. Penn State only lost by a little. I'm sorry, did they both lose or did they win? Why is Penn State being treated like they won? You have 3 unranked wins and 1 loss in overtime to a good Oregon team. How does that warrant you being above Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Texas Tech, even Tennessee, or Vanderbilt, who's 5-0 right now and playing in the SEC? And Vanderbilt beat South Carolina 31-7 when South Carolina was ranked. And don't give me no crap about South Carolina because they've dealt with Lenora Sellers arguably not being 100%. So, Florida State dropped 10 spots losing to Virginia. But they beat Alabama. So Florida State is considered the 18th best team in the country for losing to Virginia, because their loss to Virginia was unranked and Penn State's loss to Oregon was ranked. But Florida State beat a ranked team. Florida State beat Alabama, and Alabama's pretty dang good. They just beat Georgia. So Florida State gets less credit for beating Alabama and more disdain and more punishment for losing to Virginia. But Penn State doesn't have a win anywhere close to beating in Alabama. But they got to be in the top 10, top 7, top 6 in the coaches poll, top 7 in the AP. Again, I tell you this, and some people just hear you hate Big Ten. No, I respect the Big Ten. I don't respect how the Big Ten is ranked. Because you cannot sit here and tell me that Penn State has a bigger reasoning than Florida State, Georgia, Texas Tech, or Alabama, or LSU, or maybe even Tennessee. We can't logically have that conversation. We can illogically and irrationally have that conversation, but we can't logically have that conversation. So my annoying moment of the week, Penn State, once again, getting that Big Ten buffer and getting treated as if they did something good by losing to a good team. Yet the teams behind them that have gotten top 10, top 25 wins are not as good as a team that has 0. But that team almost got 1, so they got a little pat on the head. How does that make sense? You got a top 25 win, you almost had a top 25 win. The team that almost got it is in the top 10, and the teams that have it are behind them. Seems to make sense, right? Not really. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we'll jump into lead. This has been the Annoying Moment of the Week, proudly presented by Carvel DeWitt. No matter what is annoying you this week or any week, make sure to go over to Carvel DeWitt. Any weather, any time of the year, that same great Carvel flavor gives you a smile. It is what happy tastes like, and you can get it on 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. We'll be back right after this on Wake Up Call.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
And welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. And of course, it is now time to jump into LEAD. Learn, Evolve, Ad-Lib, and Deliver is the acronym that God helped me to bring to life in 2019, right before COVID. Perfect timing by God, as always, because we had to learn, definitely had to evolve in that time, ad-lib all the time, and deliver on those promises that we make to ourselves, to each other, and to God. Today's topic is if God was next to you, right? It's something I think about, right? When you're like, oh, is this a sin? Is this wrong to do? Should I feel bad if I do it? And I say, okay, well, just treat it like if God was sitting next to you. If God was sitting next to you, looking at you, would you shoot somebody? If God is sitting next to you, looking at you, would you spit on somebody? If God was sitting there holding your hand, would you sin? Would you be okay with it? Would it matter? If God was sitting next to you, what would you do? Would you do the same things and say the same things? And what I'm not going to say scares me, what concerns me about this world is I feel like some people will be like, yeah, because God accepts me for who I am. And it's like, bro, it's not that God accepts you for who you, okay. People misconstrue, in my opinion, God. I could do whatever I want. I could say whatever I want. And as long as I say I'm sorry, I can keep doing it. No. No. Right? God's an endless way. God just loves me for me. God told me to be me. God created me so I could do whatever I want, be whatever I want. I don't have to No. God created you. God loves you. Period. That's right here. God didn't say do whatever you want. There's 10 commandments. Okay? Love one another as I have loved you, right? Treat people the way you want to be treated. God did not say do whatever you want. God did not say be whoever you want to be, and that's fine. God said you got free will. You go make some choices. But there are consequences. There's consequences in the Bible. In the Old Testament, there's consequences in the Bible, in the New Testament. God did, people have this, and maybe this is why some people stop believing in God, when they're like, well, I thought God was going to love me for me. And it's, I went to church and they said they don't love these people. And I went here and I went to the synagogue and I went to the temple and I went to the mosque and I read this passage in the Bible and I don't think God likes me. God loves you. He loves you. That doesn't mean you can take advantage of. Think about this. If God was a person, which he is, Jesus Christ, divine and human, think about this. Would you stay with someone that cheats on you, beats you, spits on you, slaps you, tells you you're terrible, constantly harasses you, steals from you, hazes you? In your heart of hearts, do you like being around people that hate speech you and negative you and come after you in every which way? Then why would you expect God to keep being cool with what you're doing, right? Well, I can go kill somebody because God's going to forgive me. Where's your logic in that? Well, God forgives everybody, Dan, according to you. God does forgive everyone. But where in God's forgiveness did God say, go do it, keep doing it, do it after you apologize for it? When has God ever said that? When has God ever said, as long as you apologize for your sins, you can keep on sinning? Show me a place in the Bible where God says to us, keep screwing up. I don't care. I'm going to love you no matter what, right? We have that love from God no matter what. But our parents can love us no matter what and be disappointed. Our parents can love us no matter what and punish us. Our parents can love us no matter what and we're grounded for a week. So this mentality that you would treat God less than you would treat a human being is crazy, right? I would not stay with a person that cheats on me over and over and over and over and over and over again. So if I have idols, if I practice idolatry and I worship things that are not God, I'm cheating on God over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm telling God to be cool with it when I wouldn't be cool with it. Do as I say, not as I do. If God was next to you, I tell people this all the time. What if we went through our whole lives holding God's hand, as we should? And we're just holding God's hand, right? We got God. God's holding our hand. We're holding God's hand. I would hope that if you really felt like you were holding God's hand and he was looking right at you, that we wouldn't say the things that we're saying. We wouldn't do the things we're doing, right? I would like to think it's harder to sin holding God's hand than it is not. That if God was literally next to us, we wouldn't have said that thing. We wouldn't have done that thing. I want to believe that people can be responsible. They can think about other people. They can care about other people. They can put other people's safety and health as an important element in their brain and in their hearts, that it's not just about you. See, we choose the world we live in. And what I mean by that is how we decide to live, how we decide to react, what we decide to focus on. Dan, I can't control the rest of the world. No, you can't. You can't control the rest of the world. But you can control yourself. And if all of us think somebody else is going to do it, somebody else is going to be nice, somebody else is going to take out the trash, somebody else is going to help, somebody else is going to care, somebody else, then nobody ever does it. Nobody ever gets it done. Because if we keep thinking about the somebody else's of life, what you realize is if everyone expected somebody else to do it, then nobody would do it. Because if everyone passes the buck and nobody accepts what needs to be done, then it doesn't get done, right? You got 4 people in the house. Mom says to dad, take out the trash. Dad says to son, take out the trash. Son says to his sister, take out the trash. Nobody does it. The trash stays in the house. And we're living in a society right now that acts like that. Well, I don't have to be good because somebody else will be good. Well, I don't have to tell the truth. Somebody else will tell the truth. Well, I don't have to be kind. Somebody else will be kind. Well, I don't have to do the right thing. Somebody else will do the right thing. I don't have to fix this. Somebody else will fix it. Somebody else. And when you live in a society where you constantly pass the buck, if nobody wants it, it's not going to get done. And that's what we have to think about. So if God was sitting right next to you, would you say, somebody else will do it. Somebody else will figure out. Somebody else will get it done. If God was sitting right next to you, would you keep swearing? Would you keep yelling? Would you keep being sexist, racist, prejudiced? Would you keep having hate in your heart? Would you keep calling somebody fat, ugly, stupid? Would you keep beating up on yourself? Would you keep hitting yourself, hitting somebody else? Would you keep cheating? Would you keep lying? If God was right next to you, looking right at you. If everywhere you walked, he was eye to eye with you. He's right there. Close your eyes, open them. He's there, he's there, he's there, he's there. He's everywhere. Would you be the same? If you knew that your Maker, who was responsible of you having eternal bliss or eternal strife and pain, if you knew the decision maker was next to you, it's kind of like saying, would you do the things you're doing at work right now if your boss was right next to you? And the sad thing about American society right now, some people don't even care. They don't care if their boss is there. They used to be afraid, right? Oh, I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to cut corners and I'm going to show up late because who's going to stop me? Because who's going to stop me? Because who's going to stop me? And then the boss goes, whoa, what'd you say? Oh, nothing. Now, some of these people, they don't even care. They'll keep talking right in front of their boss. I don't care what you're going to do. You're going to fire me? Then I'm going to sue you. Where is the personal responsibility anymore? Where is the person saying, I'm wrong? I got fired because I stole. I got fired because I showed up late 9 times. I got fired because I was doing drugs. Right? Why can't people just say that? And that's it. Instead of saying, oh no, you fired me because you don't like my hair. You don't like my skin color. You don't like the way I talk. You don't like my boyfriend. You don't like my girlfriend. I mean, you got fired because you did something wrong. Right? In those instances, you show up late to work 9 times. They could have fired you the first time. They could have fired you the second time. They could have fired you the third time. You should feel grateful that they waited 9 times to fire you, which means you got more paychecks than you probably should have gotten. We have to start taking responsibility. We got to think about if God was sitting right next to us, would we keep saying and doing things? And the sad thing that I feel inside of me today is that some people watching and listening would be like, yeah, Dan, I'd say the same thing. I don't care if God hears me. It doesn't matter to me. I can do whatever I want. I can be whoever I want. And that means that you've quieted your conscience so much that you can barely hear it. And a person with a conscience that is buried is a dangerous person. A person who has justified bad behavior is a dangerous person. A person who feels no remorse is a dangerous person. A person who feels remorse but goes, God's going to forgive me so I can keep screwing up for the rest of my life, that's a dangerous person. You're treating God like an ATM. No matter how much money I steal, you're going to keep giving me money. Because the ATM, this bank doesn't know that I steal from people on the street. Well, God knows. God's not a stationary ATM that doesn't see you. He's got eyes and ears everywhere. But that's how we treat God. We treat God like a stationary ATM. He doesn't know that I'm stealing from people in these streets and in these neighborhoods. So when I go to his ATM, he thinks I'm an upstanding citizen. No, he knows you're not. And he loves you anyways. But he didn't say keep on doing it. That is the misconception of sin, reconciliation, and forgiveness. He did not say, keep sinning because I'll always give you reconciliation and I'll always forgive you, so keep screwing up. He didn't say that. God never said, keep hurting yourself and each other in my name. He said, love one another as I have loved you. Was God cheating on us? Was he lying to us? Was he spitting on us? Was he abusing, attacking, degrading? slandering. Was he doing any of that? Then why are we? Love each other as you love me. Or love each other as I love you. Love each other as I love you. So if we did that, we wouldn't be saying mean things, doing mean things, hurting each other. It's a very simple concept. But see, the longer we've been on this planet, the more we think we own this planet. The more we think this planet was given to us and not to God, that God didn't make it, that God didn't create it, that it doesn't belong to him. Flip this planet over, it says property of God, not property of man, not property of us. Not property of who owns the universe? You think the universe owns the universe? How'd the universe get created? If we all believe that there's a starting point to everything in life, then why don't you believe in God? You believe that it just happened? The Big Bang Theory. How did anything come to be? What about the particles and everything that was involved that created the Big Bang? How did they come to be? How did the first thing happen? At some point in the existence of existence, there was a blank sheet of paper. Any movie has a screenwriter. All blank sheets of paper until somebody puts a pen to the paper and tells a story. So you believe that every movie and every TV show has a writer, but you don't believe that life has a writer? That there wasn't anyone that took the blank sheet of paper and wrote the story? But you believe that Friends has a writer. And you believe that The Last of Us has a writer. But you don't believe in the first of us? You don't believe in the one above all of us? So today's topic in lead, probably presented by Chick-fil-A Cicero, if God was next to you, take that if out, because he is.
This is Jim Dispenza, owner of Game Point Sports Complex. You hear the same story across any sport that kids play and any sport that adults play. There's never enough places to play. That was definitely true with volleyball, definitely true with basketball. Could be cheerleading, it could be field hockey, which is what we're seeing now. Every sport has a lack of places to play, and I think Syracuse in particular is a place where it's really bad. Despite the fact that we've got a lot of athletic talent around here, we just seem to have not enough places for people to play, and they're going to different places. They're going to Rochester, they're going to, Buffalo. They're going all different places because we don't have a place here, and I felt like that should change. This was a long project from planning all the way through execution to opening the doors. A lot of work went into it, obviously a lot of money, a lot of resources, and the dream always was kids being in the gym, having a good time. And I've always felt like sports is the most unfiltered joy that you can observe with people, that people can experience, because it is fun, it is a sense of accomplishment, it's all of that wrapped into one thing. And so watching kids going up and down the court with big smiles on their faces has been just amazing experience. I'm looking forward to years to come of that same thing. We've taken the time to invest in multiple sports, and then what we're finding is the mere fact that we have a large, clean, well-lit space has opened a lot more doors for us beyond basketball, volleyball, pickleball. Now we're having some interest from cheerleading. We've got girls field hockey coming in, and then also there's quite a bit of room for spectators. We've got bleachers, we've got benches, we've got a concession lounge where people can get food and drinks. We're going to have multiple sports going at the same time, using every square inch of this place for what it was conceived for, which is basically people to come in, have a good time in the sport that they prefer. We manage each situation differently. Everybody has different ability to afford different things. Some are bringing 10, 15 people, some are just 2 people. I've had a lot of situations where it's a father shooting around with his son, it's a mother playing pickleball with her daughter or with her son, and in those situations come up and we work with people, and that's allowed us to have groups from 2 people up to 30 people and have some flexible pricing behind it. We're an organization that is here to work with the community community any way we can. And I guess part of it is just making sure that we have the flexibility to put together a plan that makes sense regardless of the size of your group. So in order to book time, the best option is to go to our website, gamepointsports-syr.com. You can click from there and sign up for events, sign up for your own particular training, sign up for birthday parties, all of that.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. You've heard me say that over and over, time and time again. So get yourself over to Great Lakes Honda City. I don't say it unless I believe it, and I won't talk about it unless I'm utilizing the service. And my vehicle is from Great Lakes Honda City. My vehicle before that was Great Lakes Honda City. Before that was Great Lakes Honda City, and on and on and on and on and on. And I cannot thank them enough. I always appreciate my conversations with Malik and Elijah and Mark and the team. So make sure you go over to Great Lakes Honda City today, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. You can get a sneak peek by going to greatlakeshondacity.com. And if you have any questions or is there any way that I can help you, then reach out to me on our social media, and I can tell you about my experience at Great Lakes Honda City. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT, or with any of our partners if you have some thoughts, right? Maybe you're having a birthday party and you're out in the Beeville area. You want to know if you should go to Pizza Man. Well, I had a birthday party at Pizza Man, so we can talk about those things. It's time for our Top Dog of the Week. Top Dog of the Week, proudly presented by the wonderful team at K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare, led by Lorraine and Chad. I appreciate them so very much, and it is time for us to bring you our top dog of this week. Who's going to be my top dog of the week? This is a question, right? There's a lot of places that I can go. Who will I call my top dog of the week? Well, my top dog of the week has to go to those of us that are out there in this world that are not afraid to be who we are, to stand up for what we believe in, and, listen to the second part, while we're standing up for what we believe in, being willing to listen to other people and learn and grow. My top dogs of the week are those of us that are strong in our faith, strong in our drive, strong in who we are, confident, but also listening. You cannot love and hate at the same time. And it's funny how people think you can. Man, I love this person, but I hate that person. You can't. I've told you it before on this show. You have to think of hate as if it were one drop of dye in a glass of water. If you have a glass of water and the water is clear, of course, you take dye, and let's call it red dye. One drop of red dye. The drop goes into the water, and you see that one drop just go down through the water, but the rest of the water is clear. It's pure. There's just that one dot of red. Walk out of the room. Come back in. 10 minutes later. What color's the water? Red. Because one drop of hate will erase the love. You cannot love and hate at the same time because you cannot have that inside of you. You can't, we all have the capacity to do either or, but your body can't function. If you got a little bit of hate, and I've seen this in people, whole lot of love, little bit of hate. The longer I knew them, the hate got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Now I don't really see the love. I saw it before, but that drop over time consumed their heart. So, my top dogs of the week, it's not an individual. It's the people that are who they are, proud of who they are, loving, caring, respectful, and also not hateful. That they can meet a human being, disagree with that human being, and not end their friendship and their family and their relationship, but they can have good, honest conversation. This country has lost people that can't sit down and talk and disagree and still move forward. What did Brendan Murphy say on the show on Monday? He said, look, he said it before I could even get it out of my mouth. He said, look at what Dan and I just did. We just disagreed. Completely. And at the end of the conversation, we were laughing and we're still friends and we still respect each other. But on the topic, we totally disagreed. Yet, it didn't kill our bond. Unfortunately, I have in my life lost friends over people literally coming to me saying, if you don't think the way I think and do what I do and feel how I feel on everything, go screw yourself. And I could never say that to somebody. Because if I was a closed-minded person and I walked up to someone and spoke that way, I wouldn't have the friends I have. I wouldn't learn the things I've learned. I grew up in an Italian household. So what, am I supposed to just hang out with Italians? Closed-mindedness is why this country has lost its way. People thinking that they know better than everybody else is why we've lost ourselves. So my top dog of the week are the people that can have tough conversations with an honest heart, a whole lot of love, and the openness to learning that sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but no matter what, you should never lose a friend over it. Shout out to my top dogs of the week here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, proudly presented by K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare. Make sure you go and see them today on 228 Old Bridge Street in Old Liverpool, 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, right across from BJ's off of Bridge Street. We'll be back in just a moment to welcome in one of my favorite people to talk to. Always appreciate his time, and he's been doing a lot. Don't let this fool you. Yes, we have a coach now that really, really likes alumni, but this man's been working hard for alumni a lot longer than we had a coach who was open to it. And so I respect the years, not the year, but the years of Turnell Sims. We'll talk to him right after this.
Avicoli's restaurant, located on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, has been serving our community for decades. Your place to go for home cooking on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road is just minutes from Liverpool High School. And every single month, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is on site, on location, with Liverpool sports, student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories throughout the year. We look forward to seeing you on site at Avicoli's for their casual pizza side, their fine dining, as well as their bar. And of course, you can order online at myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. For takeout, delivery, and catering, call 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. Come on into the neighborhood spot Avicoli's, open 7 days a week in Liverpool, New York. K-9 Campground Dog Boarding is your home away from home for your furry-loving friends. Open 7 days a week with drop-off and pickup times in the morning and later on in the day and early evening. K-9 Campground Dog Boarding is the spot to trust with your dog for short and long-term stays. Call 315-299-4013 for more information. That's 315-299-4013, and go to k9campground.com as well. That's K9, ground.com, where you will find all of the information on their different cabins, which include the classic cabin, executive cabin, grand cabin, and luxury cabin. K9 Campground Dog Boarding, where your dog will have indoor and outdoor areas as well as their own private cabin for any size, any breed, as well as dogs with different needs. Dog parents and dogs alike choose K9 Campground Dog Boarding. Isn't that right, Lily? Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We are inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios, and it is now time for me to welcome a friend of mine and somebody that I appreciate so very much. And you know what? I can't get enough of the old Otto. It's right behind Turnell. Like every time I see it, because some of the coaches are doing it now. Like they're wearing gear that's got the old happy, just like, you know, come and hug me, Otto. Like, I'm not going to hurt you, and then they beat you. But, like, Otto's just, they got it on the shirt now. I don't know who is making the new designs, but I need to get some of that coach stuff that they have that they're wearing out there. So, with that being said, Turnell Sims is here with us on Wake Up Call. He is the president of this wonderful, wonderful Syracuse Football Club. And, of course, he is a proud alum. And he was part of the 1987 undefeated Syracuse team. There's only been 2 football teams in Syracuse Orange history that have been undefeated, 1959's national championship team and the team in 1987 that went 11-0-1. So with that being said, Mr. Sims, how we doing?
Good morning, Dan. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you? How's everything?
I'm well. I'm well. Can't complain.
So, sitting in the seat of being the president of the Syracuse Football Club, what's that like day to day, week to week, month to month?
Well, it's actually it gets busy at certain times of the year because we do Syracuse Football Club is always running, but it's volunteer oriented. So our executive board is it consists of alumni who have full-time jobs and things like that. I am blessed to have I'm a retired educator, so I have a little bit more time than other guys. But for the most part, like 2 or 3 times a year it gets busy. We're always planning our next event for to bring the guys back to campus or some sort of social or just check in on guys throughout the year. Our 2 major events it was 3 major events, but 2 that the Syracuse Football Club sponsor is the Spring Football Weekend, which is going to be consistent from this point on. We have a Fall Football Reunion Weekend, which is coming up here October 17th and 18th. And then we also support the Marcus Paul golf outing tournament every year where you have Jim Glavin, Dave Holmes, now Jeff Mangrum, who's to be the president of the Marcus Paul Foundation. We support that. So we kind of, those 3 things are kind of big things we plan for this in the year. So a lot of logistics and navigation and connections and trying to get things planned to get done. So those are the kind of type of things to do throughout the year. In addition to making connections, checking in with guys, sending emails out, trying to get this the Syracuse Football Club mentorship program off the ground and working with the coaches, trying to get that rolling. So it's a lot of computer work. I do some data entry, checking in with people, just day to day. And between that, I get a chance to walk my dog Dakota and have a good time. Watch my own boy play football and watch my daughter in equestrian. So it's all good.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, you have the opportunity to really give to this and to have the time for it in this chapter of your life to, lead because of everything you've done up to this point, all the hard work that you've put in beyond football. Why did you want to have this? Why did you want to, ask this of yourself? I was talking in this show all this morning about responsibility, right? Putting the onus on you. Why did you want to be a part of the Syracuse Football Club and to really give your energy to doing some of the things like you said, to having this engagement, this constant throughout the year, making sure there's events, that the alumni are being reached out to, that there's something for you to do together, that there's something that keeps the family together, that you can give back, the Syracuse 60, and then of course you brought up Marcus Paul to honor his life. Why did you want to give your energy to this?
Well, Dan, I think first and foremost, Syracuse University has given me a lot from that 16, 17-year-old boy that left St. Joseph High School out of Cleveland, Ohio. First day, Coach Mack was in my house and offered me a scholarship. They brought me into the fold, to the family. And from the first day on campus, the hard work, the camaraderie, the team building, the discipline, the just kind of get to know and making lifelong friends.
Yeah.
That was a pivotal part of this young man's life. And here it is, over 30 years later, I'm still a part of it because those same guys I hit the field with, ran a 2.2 mile with, we did double sessions with. We had blood, sweat, and tears. Anxiety because are we gonna go undefeated? All those young men that we played with, I'm still close with today. And it's just my hope and dream, and my objective is to keep the Syracuse Football Club going, so we can continue to project all the things that we have received over the years from Syracuse football, either as a player or as an alumni, where these young men today will have that when they're our age. So it's important for a football club to be around. It's important for these young men to see us, to be around us, to hear our stories, to hear the history of Syracuse football. It's important. So I felt that, when the opportunity came to me to become president of the alumni club, I want to, some of the guys talk about, hey, we need some younger folks and take the reins. We have a lot of guys who ran the club. Blake Bednarz was the president. You got Russ Mills was the president before. Jim Jerome, been years in doing this job, and they've done a fabulous job in keeping it going and working with it, and working with a grand group of guys. And I had the opportunity to, hey, would you lead this? I'm like, you know what? It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. I love Syracuse. I love Syracuse football. I love my friends who are lifelong friends. And if there's something I can bring to the table and continue to improve, to have it there after I'm gone, and for these younger guys to have, it's well worth the time and commitment.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, to give back, you said more than 30 years later, you still want to do that because Syracuse gave you an opportunity, gave you a chance, and you had a great experience. You want to give that experience. How has it been engaging younger Syracuse football alumni? What have you done in that regard, and what has the response been from guys that aren't that far removed from playing at Syracuse?
I have in the last 2 years, Dan, I've met more of these young guys who I've watched on TV play. Now here they are, young men. I've seen some of these young men have their young families, to sit there and have time to talk with them about, the different generations, the different coaches, the iteration of coaches that we had. And the funny thing about it, Dan, is that, we all have maybe played at different times, but the stories are still the same. I was talking to some guys, I was in California a couple years ago, and we were talking about when Doug Marone was coaching and Rob Moore was coaching there he was receivers coach at the time.
Yeah.
And they were talking about Rob Moore, and they're talking about his mannerisms and whatnot. I said, that is Rob Moore to the T. They were doing the hand motions, talking about how Rob was very flamboyant. And Rob was a baller, okay, a baller. He would tell you a ball, and he'll tell you he's going to take care of you too. And the guys talk about how Rob would talk to him as a coach. But I'm like, I saw that young man when we first came in 1986. That young man who came in, some people just don't change. So I thought that was hilarious, talking to these young guys about those stories, but it doesn't change. Getting them, they've all come back. They wanted to be a part of, not just I think Fran Brown has helped facilitate that because he's welcomed us back.
Yeah.
He's allowed us kind of a free reign to kind of come in and see and talk and be a part. He wants us a part of his program. He wants us to be around the players so they can have exposure to the history. And these younger guys who are coming back, they're learning about the football club. That we're not an old timers group. We're here. We know how to have a good time. We know how to take care of each other. We know how to call and look after each other. And those are some things that we're teaching these younger guys how to do. Everyone has their group of text guys. You got your group of 10, you text every morning, or you got your group of 15 here, you checking in and checking out. Hey, bring those groups together, because we're not too far removed from each other in terms of the experiences we had, and we could learn from each other. I could learn from them; they could learn from us as being older guys who played with Syracuse.
Yeah, and you talked about Rob Moore, how some things never change, and when I came back to Syracuse from living in Florida full time, and I got to be around Rob Moore and interview him. And then I got to learn that one of my favorite songs of all time by Belle Biv DeVoe and Poison, that when they say, Rob Moore, you dead. I was like, wait a minute, is that Rob? And they're like, yeah, it is. And then I heard the story behind the story, and they're like, oh, you don't understand. If those boys were ready to go, we were ready to go. And I was like, a bunch of Syracuse football players almost beat up Belle Biv DeVoe. So, I mean, this is it. Can you add anything to this unique lyric?
Dan, I'm keeping my mouth shut on that one. Okay. All right. But the funny thing is, the guys I was talking to who was coaching, they had heard the same story.
Yeah.
And they had heard the same story, and Rob wouldn't give them any more details. But that I think that's like a timeless story in Syracuse football history. Rob Moore and the Belle Biv DeVoe story. That's one that I think you hear all the time now.
Well, and it's there forever, right? I mean, people. I mean, I'm growing up as a kid, and I'm listening to Poison, and I'm dancing to the song Poison. I'm paying no attention. Then I'm watching Syracuse football, and I interview Rob Moore. And then life goes by, and I get to know all of you, and I get to know more and more, brothers within the family of Syracuse football, this brethren. And then you hear somebody say it, and then they go, that's. I was like, no. And they're like, yeah. And so he's like, Rob Moore, you dead. And I was like, he was that mad that Belle Biv DeVoe is in the studio putting this song together about a girl being a little, being kind of here, there, and everywhere. And then he just, Rob Moore, you dead. I was just like, why? And he Belle Biv DeVoe. I mean, think about that. Y'all went undefeated, Turnell, but Rob Moore he was living rent-free in Belle Biv DeVoe's mind, to the point where he's going to live on in history with being in that one of the biggest songs ever.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I love, though, how Rob won't talk about it, and nobody around Rob will talk about it. Because I just said all that stuff, and what did Turnell say? Yep, that's funny. I said, it's like, what, did you all just like get into a circle, cut your finger, put the blood on the piece of paper, and say, we will never speak about this again? Because nobody will talk about. They'll talk about it to a point, but then they stop.
Well, Dan, come on. Things in the locker room stay in the locker room. Should stay in the locker room, okay? So, hey, unless you were in there with us between 86 and 90, you ain't getting it.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. Between 86 and 90, you ain't getting. All right, okay. But I think, it's an awesome kind of backstory to all of it. But 1987, I go back here all the time because 59 gets talked about, and Ernie Davis gets talked about, and as they should. And the 59 team is an incredible team. But the 1987 team, also an incredible team. And I want to get into something that happened to you that season, which annoys me to this day because it's still here. You went 11-0-1 as a team. And the one tie that you had was when you could tie in the postseason. If there's any place to not tie, it would be in the postseason. If there was a tie in the postseason now, people would lose their heads that both teams get a trophy. And you tied in the Hall of Fame Bowl, and it was against Auburn. And when you tie in a game like that, and it's a postseason game, it's a game to win a bowl. I fast forward to the NFL, and I fast forward to the fact that you can tie in the regular season in the NFL. You can't tie in college football. You can't tie in the postseason college football, the postseason NFL. I would love to hear your thoughts on the fact that you played on a team where you can tie in a postseason game, and what your thoughts are on the fact that the NFL still has ties in the regular season.
Yeah, that's actually surprising that the NFL will still have that. I think I can understand in terms of number of plays those guys play at that high level, and it is overtime. They give blood, sweat, and tears for their 4 quarters, and then it's overtime. How much time is enough to stop play so to protect them. But on the other hand, that tie doesn't really help in terms of when it comes down to in terms of records and how you see who's better what and placements of how you seed it and things like that. So I'm sure that's in a lot of coaches' minds. Saying, listen, we need to have some sort of a measuring stick in terms of what it comes down to. If it's a closer maybe seed 1 and 2 or head to head, how does that split?
Yeah.
You have to have some sort of formula to plan for that. Personally, I think that as from my experience with the Sugar Bowl in '87, that tie basically inhibited us from having a piece of the national championship that year. I'm not sure if you remember that, because we were probably been the only other undefeated team that year, and at that time they were sharing national championships at that year at the time. So we were, you kind of there. You're right there at the door. You're going to walk in, and next thing you know, the door gets shut because of a tie. Auburn and Pat Dye decide to, take the weak way out and kick a field goal. But on top of it, but even in addition to that, a lot of people, what we talk about for guys on the team is, there's some things we wish we could have done. If ifs and buts were candy nuts, be Christmas every day. But we ran the ball quite a bit. I remember, Rob Drummond, Daryl Johnson. I mean, we were running Auburn through the roof. Okay,
yeah,
that's the thing. They thought they had us. Start passing early, and we started running the ball, and they couldn't stop us. And that's where when we decided, I think Coach Mack decided we were fourth and 2. 4th and 2, or something like that, and he decided to go for get the field goal, get the 3 points ahead, and hopefully defense will hold them, and then we will win the game. But we as offensive linemen, I want to run the ball, or to grind it out. Let's get after it, 4th and 1 is nothing. We've been getting 4 or 5, 6 yards a pop with our stud running backs, and Don McPherson. I mean, he's running too, you get the option. So when they decided not to go for that, I now personally was very disappointed that we didn't. I think we did probably I would say a disservice to our defense. Our defense was really good, but we all played a long, hard game, and put the defense in position to, hey, listen, all right, go out. You guys got to win the game, when we could have took it on our backs and running the ball to win the game. That was disappointing. But then Pat Dye, I think that was purposeful in terms of tying the game to make sure it doused any accolades we have at the end of the year, which is still sour. It's still sour grapes for us, even a billion years later, right?
Yeah.
You have any guys who played in that game or during that week who participated, you'll get the same story. Same story, like, what, it hurts. But I know we're only an undefeated team in Syracuse history, but it's just something about that where, we were at the doorstep, Dan. We're at the doorstep.
Yeah, and my apologies, I said Hall of Fame Bowl, but I want to go back to the history of this Sugar Bowl. So it was in the 1987 season. The Sugar Bowl at the end of the season was on January 1st, 1988, and this is going to paint some history on what Turnell and I are talking about. So let's go back. Syracuse was ranked number 4 in the nation in the 1987-88 season, entering this game on January 1st, 1988 versus Auburn in what is now the All-State Sugar Bowl. One of the most controversial finishes ever. 4 seconds remaining on the clock, Auburn faced 4th down on the Syracuse 13-yard line while trailing 16-13. Pat Dye, the head coach that you mentioned of Auburn at the time, whose team had no chance at a national championship, was willing to settle for the tie and sent in kicker Win Lyle. who booted his third field goal of the game for the only tie in All-State Sugar Bowl history. The only tie in Sugar Bowl history. Syracuse coach Coach Dick McPherson, may he rest in peace and God bless to him, vented his anger by throwing his game plan to the Superdome turf. The tie was the only blot on Syracuse's record, and obviously left a lot of people, including yourself, upset. Minutes before, when the team had to decide whether to go for it on 4th and inches at the Auburn 22, Coach Mack's choice had been to kick for a 16-13 lead, feeling a team with no shot at number one would have to go for the winning touchdown against an unbeaten, untied opponent in a bowl game. So he called for Tom Vesling to boot the go-ahead 38-yard field goal. Coach Mack said, quote, "I told my guys the field goal was like a touchdown. I told them if we made it, Auburn would have to go for the touchdown. If I had thought in my wildest imagination he'd go for a field goal," speaking of Pat Dye, "we would have gone for a first down," end quote. Pat Dye said his Tigers, 2.5-point favorites, simply played with, quote, "too much character and class," end quote, to risk going for a 13-yard touchdown in the fading seconds against the 4th-ranked Syracuse Orange men at the time. Following the go-ahead kick by Syracuse, the Tigers drove 62 yards to the 13-yard line with 4 seconds remaining, with Pat Dye sending in Lyle to the accompaniment of boos from all ends of the Superdome. Lyle's own frustrated teammates tried to wave him off the field before he made the tying kick. Do you remember that? Do you remember his teammates trying to take him off the field, Turnell?
I don't remember that, no.
So it says in here, kind of recalling the history, it says, Coach Mack made note of the fact that Auburn didn't throw into the end zone once on the last drive. Quote, "They were just fooling around with other things. What the hell was Dye thinking? Why the hell did they come here for in the first place?" End quote, said Coach Mack. And so just absolutely insane what's going on here. Dye, however, found a quote-unquote moral victory in the intended insult. He autographed each one, and going back to a Syracuse radio station made a call for fans to send Pat Dye ties, the ugliest ones they could find. An estimated 2,000 ties flooded the Tiger Athletic Department. He signed each one of them and included the score of the game and had the athletic department sell them to fans for $100 a piece, with the proceeds donated to Auburn's general fund. Sales totaled $25,000. That makes me even more mad right now.
Here's a piece of work, capitalized off a dig, right?
But I mean, that leads to the question, though. Yes, he went for the tie, but Turnell, how in the world does a bowl game in a postseason even have the opportunity for a tie back then? Like, why was that even written into existence? It's the only tie in Sugar Bowl history, but I look to the Sugar Bowl and I say, why would you allow that? Like, there should be no ties in the postseason, ever.
I don't think so. I think after that year, I think they changed it after that year, I believe. It was soon after that they would start doing some overtimes in postseason.
Yeah,
remember correctly, but you're right. It is, and of course that's one thing. That's NCAA again. You know, you can scratch your head. Their decisions over many years, and that's one thing that you can't. Postseason seem to be where you should at least have overtime. You know, hey, make them go for it. Make it. Choose a winner. You're there. You spend 11 games to get there. There should be a winner. There should be someone crowned, champion of the Hall of Fame Bowl or the Peach Bowl or Sugar Bowl. You know, it should have that. You shouldn't walk away feeling like you kissed your sister or something like that. You know?
Yeah. No, and I agree with you 1,000%. I think it's insane. When we go back and we look at the college football rankings of the 1987 season, I mean, in your opinion, did you feel like there was a path for Syracuse? You're ranked number 4 in the country. You had no ties and you had no losses. Did you get a sense for the fact that there could have been a place for Syracuse to rise, to be the number one team in the nation, to claim that there was, I mean, we had what, Miami, Florida State, Oklahoma were all up there. And here, this is crazy. Miami was independent, Florida State was independent, Syracuse was independent, and Oklahoma was in the Big 12 when it was called the Big 8. So, I mean, do you think there was a path there for you?
Right, and I think I think at the end was it 2 teams undefeated, or
I'm taking a look at it right now. So let's see here.
if I remember correctly, though, I think prior to that there was a split. There was a national championship split. Was it the year before or 2 years before that?
So I'm looking. Yeah, I'm trying to look at. I'm looking at Miami. So Miami went 12-0 in '87. So Miami was 12-0. Florida State was 11-1. And you were 11-0-1, and Oklahoma was 11-1.
Yeah.
So it could have been you and Miami that year.
Yeah, right. It would be if it both been undefeated. You could have split the polls. You could anything could have happened. Had a better chance to be seen as part of the national championship. Because if I remember correctly, I'm trying to remember who team, but they had split the national championship one year, another year prior to that, I believe.
Yeah, that's crazy. And now you're in the same conference with them. You're in the Big East with them. You're in the ACC with them. Play them this year at Miami, but absolutely insane. So, I mean, would you like to see a home-and-home series between Syracuse and Auburn? And if so, would the Syracuse Football Club send as many alumni as possible to these games?
It's any SEC team we over history we've had SEC number. We really have. Syracuse football. I know when I was there, we were, we had Auburn, we had LSU, which we beat in Hall of Fame Bowl, and we had Georgia in the Peach Bowl.
Yeah,
that's 3 SEC teams which we had their number. Well, tied for one of them, but Auburn, it's history. I'm not sure if it's the same. I'd rather see, us kind of. I like the Clemson. I like the Florida State. I like the Miami vibes happening in ACC right now with kind of picking up some momentum in terms of competing. So Auburn, listen, they're in the rear window. It's a sour patch with a lot of us in the rear window, but it is what it is, man.
I'm going to tell you this right now, and if Syracuse decides to do this, then I want money for this. And we'll give it back to the community. We'll do good with it like Pat Dye did. I think that Syracuse should play Auburn, and I think Syracuse should wear tie-dye jerseys to hit the tie, to hit the dye, and to wear those jerseys and win the game. And then we'll donate proceeds. We'll sell the jerseys and donate back to the community of Syracuse, New York.
Yep. Probably to do that on a that would be cool because it would maybe like an even year reunion, You know what I mean? So how many? It was in '87. So we come up on an even year in 2027, right?
Yeah.
Let's get them scheduled. Let's get them on the schedule.
Let's do it. See, Turnell and I coming up with ideas for you, Fran. So
there you go.
Let's get into Fran Brown. This is his second season. Went 10-3 in his first season. In the second season, looked good, looked strong. Steve Angeli comes out. And I want to get your thoughts on 2 things. Where Fran is at as this team continues to grow. And then, because here's the thing. Fran's a first-time head coach. This is only his second season. Steve Angeli, when he became the starter for Syracuse, was never a starter at Notre Dame or anywhere else. Only started 1 game for Notre Dame, but wasn't their true starter. Started a bowl game in 2023. And then you look at Ricky Collins Jr., who has never been a starter for LSU, threw 7 passes in 2 years. So I want that to all be in the background of what I'm about to say. because here we are in Fran's second season, and people are frustrated and people are upset and they want him to fire his coordinators and they want him to do all these things. They're mad at Ricky. They loved Ricky. Then they wanted Steve. Then they got Steve. Then they wanted Ricky. Then they lost Steve. Now they want Steve, but they have Ricky and they have no choice. And some people want Luke Carney. So you got a first-time starter who came in for a first-time starter who are both playing for a first-time head coach. What are your thoughts on how people have reacted to Fran and Steve and Ricky as they're all doing something that they have never done? Fran in his second season as a head coach, and Steve and Ricky both starters for the first time ever.
Well, I think as a player, former player, and kind of understanding the game, but also understanding how the dynamics of your players, the maturity of the players is important, and how it takes time. Basically, I would say, hey, it's relax. He has a young group, and we got spoiled with McCord last year. We got spoiled. Experienced quarterback, a lot of experience at high level, and we, the guys, came up to his level. But now you see, we have a team now where we need some of our experienced non-skilled players, some of our experience on the outside. Whoever's experienced need to bring up these younger players, either receiver or quarterback, or how our defense and kind of bring up the level to bring these young guys up, because this is this level of immaturity there, and you can see it in some of the calls. You can see it in some of the their responses or broken plays, and I know Coach Fran's aware that the coaching staff is well aware of that, and listen, they are coaching them up, and how these young men respond is going to tell us the story how the future of this season holds, as well as going to next season. So it's work in progress. We got spoiled with that stud quarterback last year, and I think we had two really good quarterbacks this year, but they're young, and we have some. We need to kind of lift them up around. Got other guys around them, lift them up to be able to support them. And I think Ricky, one thing he needs his line to step up and be there for protection. Coaches need to call the proper running plays so they don't put him in a point where he has to pass all the time. Receivers need to catch the ball when they get it. You touch it, you catch it. You know what I mean? You're not going to get second chances on those. And all those things support your quarterback, a young quarterback especially, and allows him to get some maturity, some confidence as he goes along in the game and throughout the season.
Well, and do you feel like like you said, the Syracuse fans were spoiled with Kyle McCord, and I agree. Do you feel like whether it was Steve or Ricky, they stepped into the shadow of Kyle, not because of their fault or anything they did, but because of how some people looked at them? And then do you feel like Ricky is now in Steve's shadow because Steve was leading the nation in passing yards before he got hurt?
I will put them both in Kyle's shadow. I think Ricky and Steve. It just so happened, Ricky was, in waiting while Steve was doing his thing, and he started getting momentum. Steve started getting some momentum. Yeah. Then Ricky is behind Steve, but I think they both were still had Kyle's shadow, in Kyle's shadow. It is, no matter which quarterback you had, I don't care if Ricky started first or Steve started first or vice versa, they still have to deal with the Kyle McCord shadow, and it's a lot of pressure, but also, like I said, the support structure around these young quarterbacks who've never started at these other schools. They come here, they get the reins, no matter if it's Ricky or Steve. The support structure around them is so necessary, where everyone's doing their job and doing their job where these guys can feel more confident as time goes along, where you're moving the ball, you're driving the ball, guys are catching the ball, we're rushing, we're picking up steam on running the ball. All those things help your quarterback feel more confident in the next decision that they have to make.
Yeah, and when you look at Ricky, I mean, I know you talked about what the team needs to do and some things about, the team as a whole and how it takes more than just Ricky. What would be your advice, as an offensive lineman who blocked for a bunch of different quarterbacks, including, Don McPherson and the Todd Philcoxes of the world? What do you want to say to Ricky Collins Jr.? Because I say this all the time, and I feel like it's a very simple way to say something that you have to really teach yourself how to do repeatedly. Outside noise, by definition, belongs outside. What do you want to say to Ricky Collins? Because so many people have an opinion of Ricky, but only Ricky can be Ricky.
Yeah, listen, drown out the noise, listen to your coaches, study, be prepared, you be the best prepared that you can, but understand you're gonna make mistakes, but it's on to the next one.
Yeah.
Quarterback and DBs are two positions it has to be on to the next one, because if your head's in the last play, you are already messed up for the next play. So
Yeah.
I think Ricky should make sure he's in the books, he's studying, he's getting himself prepared, and continue going out there with confidence that, hey, get these guys to be with you. It's your team. Your starting quarterback is your team, and you come out there with confidence that listen, they believe when it's your turn to make a play, they know that you're going to do it. But also reiterate to them, hey, let's get this done. We're together. It's not. I can't do it all by myself. I'll also say, listen, O-line, get up off your butt and get moving. We need to run the ball. We need to be consistent in being nasty and aggressive, so we can run the ball and we can set up Ricky for great passing or anything else. We don't want him to make him feel like he's not comfortable in the pocket. He has to run outside the pocket. Do our job. And that's one thing you talk about. My 87 team. Well, listen, we had our line. Blake Bednarz, Mike Bernard. Gary McCummins, John Flannery. One thing we did was we dedicate ourselves to taking care of our quarterback and our running backs. You asked Rob, you asked Mike Owens. Those guys, they knew we took pride in what we did for them behind us. And that's where I think this O-line is going to make a decision. As my dad would say, you shit or get off the pot, Dan. And you basically need to make it happen, because these guys need you to do your job and get after it. And I know you got it's not size, it's not ability. I think Coach Fran, Coach Dale, those guys have done a really good job in recruiting another next level athlete. The size, the speed, the mobility, the strength. We're competing. We're competing in that regard. Now it's mentally how we're gonna respond, and it's also mentally how I'm gonna be nasty. I'm not gonna let you beat me, so I can take care of my boys behind me.
Yeah, and I mean, you brought it up, the offensive line and what they're doing. I mean, Syracuse is in a place where, and this is something that's happened for many years at Syracuse, that from year in and year out in recent history, these guys are not the same, right? They're not playing the same position, or there's a new guy that's come in. You look at Travion Mack as the starting left tackle, TJ Ferguson at left guard, Austin Collins at center, Joe Cruz, who was on the team last year, right guard, Demetrius Weatherspoon, who was on the team last year, right tackle. But you got new faces that are out here for this team. You look at guys that came in as transfers, that being Austin Collins and TJ Ferguson. Travion Mack was on the team last year, but now we get to see him, and he's got a big role in the blind side. So, there's newness, there's guys shifting, because Syracuse's O-line has not been a consistent group of guys for 4 or 5 years, 3 to 4 years. It's been constantly changing. So, like you said, you need to have this offensive line be consistent, get up off their butts, and like you said, or get off the pot type of thing that we're living in. They have a rushing attack with Yasin Willis and Will Nixon. When I asked Yasin who they are, he said, I'm Batman, he's Robin. He said, I'm coming through the cut, and I'm hitting you, and then you got Robin who's quiet, but he's still doing his thing as well, just a quiet guy going about his business. I don't think that they leaned on Yasin or Will enough in Ricky's first start against Duke. What can you say about moving forward? We know Jeff Nixon, the offensive coordinator of Syracuse, loves to pass the ball. We know that he's leaned on the pass, but we also know that his son, Will, and Yasin Willis are two really dynamic and good running backs. Will is great at check downs. He reminds me of him and Steve Angeli reminded me of Prince Tyson Gully and Ryan Nassib a few years back. So you got Will Nixon, and then you got Mr. Power in Yasin Willis, but then you have moments where Will Nixon can be the guy up the middle, and you got Yasin who could do things out of the backfield. What would you say to Will Nixon right now? Are you hoping that he leans, even though he loves to pass the ball, are you hoping that he has Ricky lean more on Yasin and Will moving forward?
Oh yeah, definitely. You're gonna ask a lineman that question. You're gonna tell you that same question each time. Regardless, we know the run sets up the pass. And vice versa. They complement each other. And if you can't do one without the other. If you set the run up where they are kind of trying to stack the box and get you to get tight down in there because you're beating them running, guess what? Your passing game is gonna open up. And these running backs, I love these running backs. You just give them a sliver of hope, they're gonna break it. And I think he needs to. Listen, I'm Joe Schmo, outside watching, looking in, but I think you need to kind of lean on your running game more. And like I said, you don't have Kyle McCord back there slinging a rock, for passing the whole time. So you need to kind of balance it out a little bit more at this point. And then, as time goes along, you see what you have with these young players, they mature, then you could do that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think
but then, not to take away, we got some dynamic receivers too. I'm telling you, those boys are bad. We got some dynamic receivers. That's why I think we'll have more of seeing their dynamic ability. But the run is definitely going to help that increase as we kind of go in the season.
Yeah, I tell people all the time when the backup quarterback comes in, look to the running back, look to the tight end. Those seem to be their safety nets. And as they get comfortable and as the run game goes and, they learn their line and they start to feel more and more comfortable in the pocket, then, you start getting out to the receivers. But he's got two strong running backs. You got a great check down guy, which is going to help you out with being a backup and not being used to being a starter. You got Will Nixon as your check down. You got Yasin, who could be a check down. And you got two guys you can hand the ball to or pitch the ball to. You got Dan Villari, who's an extremely serviceable tight end. So lean on your tight end, lean on your running back, get comfortable, go out to your receivers and build the offense from the inside out. And, to your point, Turnell, and I said this when somebody had made the comment, remember when Thomas Pasquarello said this, and Thomas with the League Winners, and I get to be on his show every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time, so appreciate Thomas for having me as a guest. And so him and I we discuss a lot of things. He put a post up when Syracuse defeated Clemson, said, remember when people thought that Syracuse receivers this year, that they were weak? And my response to it was, what inmates in solitary confinement without access to TV or radio made that decision to say something like that? And I told my dad, I said, I think that's one of my best one-liners of all time, is what person in jail, in solitary confinement with no access to radio or television said that? I mean, who thought that this receiving core was not dynamic? Darryl Gill was trending upward. You have a guy in Jonte Cook where the question was not his talent. It was about him having the right fit and the right home. And, Dan Villari's done a million different things for the team, either running the ball, passing the ball, catching the ball. So what are we saying when, people were trying to assess this? I would love to get your thoughts, Turnell, to go a little bit deeper into it, that there were people out there apparently that thought that Syracuse had a poor receiving core, and that's been proven wrong since the jump.
Well, there are people out there who still don't see Syracuse as, being relevant. We don't get the respect that we deserve. So they're going on kind of half knowledge, half information, and they don't really know. They don't sit and watch us. They don't watch. The players we have who are balling on the field, working their tails off and making things happen. Those people they don't know Syracuse football. They don't know what we bring to the table, and then all of a sudden you're surprised when something like that happens, or you get you see a little Sports Center highlight, whatnot. You got Randy Moss talking about these guys. Then all of a sudden their eyes perk up to see what's going on, but they don't know what the hard working with these guys, where these guys have come from. But they've always been there, and we know that.
Yeah.
But it's the right system, it's the right plays to put them in a position to help the team be successful. But and they'll be successful in spite of. But we have to put the right system in place and everyone doing their job.
Yeah, well, great conversation on a lot of different things, multi-layered on history and the current Syracuse Orange football season here with Turnell Sims, the president of the Syracuse Football Club, and of course a proud alum and part of that 1987-88 undefeated season of 11-0-1. Turnell, let's play some rapid fire before we hop out of here. You can ask me any topic, any question. What do you got?
Any topic, any question.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna go to your thoughts on the game this weekend versus SMU, and after it's coming off a Duke loss. What are your thoughts in regards to going to SMU this weekend? What do you see us doing in terms of coming back, and for your conversation with the players and the coaches this week? What are your hopes, and what do you expect to see this weekend from the Syracuse team?
I would hope to see resiliency. I would hope to see don't let one loss beat you twice. I would hope to see more leaning on the run. I'd hope to see Jeff Nixon being open to that. I would hope to see a more tenacious defense that got after it against Clemson and then seemed to not be as strong against Duke. I would like to see Chris Peel and Demetrius Samuel Jr., two true freshman corners, continue to grow and learn. I would love to see Deuce Chestnut be a corner again. I do, one thing I disagree with Syracuse's defense about is that they want him to be a safety. I think he's a corner. He came in like a Demetrius Samuel, and he made mistakes. He was a freshman. He had to learn. People tested him. He got better with time, which I'm hoping Demetrius and Chris Peel do. And then people stopped throwing to Deuce. And he became an island. And he was so good that LSU wanted him. And then he came back to Syracuse. And then they made him a safety. And I think it's the wrong decision, and I think he should be a corner. Especially with two true freshman corners right now. I'd rather them learn from Deuce playing corner again, who's had all that experience, than have them be out there as true freshmen. Have one of the guys be out there and one of the other guys rotate in and let Deuce do his thing. So to me, I think Deuce is playing out of position, and that's not Deuce's fault. So I would say that has been a glaring issue to me. I think the offensive line has to be consistent. I think Ricky needs to lean on his run and get comfortable with that. You don't have to. I think the thing is Ricky can throw, and like that's the belief that he can throw, that he can do it. But I want to see Ricky do two things. Don't throw it when you don't have to, and get the ball out of bounds. Him and Steve never want to give the ball up, and I don't think either one of them's thrown the ball out of bounds. So throw the ball out of bounds. If the play busts and there's nothing out there, don't force it. So I would say that to Ricky. And just be you, Ricky. You don't have to be Steve. You don't have to be Kyle. Just be you. You want to use your legs? Use your legs. You want to throw a 5-yard pass? Throw a 5-yard pass. You want to check down? Check down. You want to call your own number and go off? Then call your own number and go off. But, I feel like there's times where Ricky wants to, like, show that he has an arm and he can do it. And in those moments, it's like, don't force it. So I would say that to him. But, with that being said, whether it was Steve or Ricky, I had them losing this game. I think SMU's too good of a team. I think SMU's a lot better than 2-2. They lost 48-45. What was it? 48-45 to Baylor. And that game, arguably Maybe could have been different. We'll see. But, they played close against TCU as well. So I think SMU is a really good team. They got a really good coach in Rhett Lashley. Faithful guy, strong guy, hardworking guy, dedicated. I have a ton of respect for the Mustangs. And I just think Kevin Jennings and the team are going to be too much. I think there's too much offense, defense, and special teams with SMU. And after Syracuse lost to Duke, I would have rather them be at home. But the fact that they're on the road, SMU had a bye week, and Syracuse has to go to Dallas after that Duke game, I don't see it for Syracuse in that one. Yeah. My question back to you, Turnell, is if you could be on the Syracuse football staff right now and you couldn't coach the offensive line, where would you want Fran to hire you and why?
Good question, Dan. I would say I would do D-line.
Okay.
D-line. I've always appreciated D linemen. As offensive linemen, a good offensive lineman understands D-line play. D-line technique. A good offensive lineman knows it because you have to counteract that. And so I would say, as a D lineman, I think I could give insight in terms of offensive linemen. Just the same thing in reverse. So I would say D-line would be something I would want to coach. In terms of assignments. Make sure you do your assignment. Make sure you're disciplined for your contain or your lane or just getting after it. Dan, I was a player that loved to get after it. Let's go. Let's 1-on-1. Let's hit it, baby. So I think the attitude for D line has always been a pain in the butt to me, but I appreciate it. You got to put your players like Rob Burnett, George Rooks, his son, George Rooks Jr. is there, which I see a lot of him in there. Those guys who are put guys like Ted Gregory. Those guys brought Paul Frey. They brought some real nastiness to it, and they're also not just nasty, but they also very disciplined in what they're doing according to their assignments, which is a nice pairing.
Yeah, I love that, and an offensive lineman that has success has to understand the defensive line, understand their techniques and their tendencies and how they line up and what they do so that you could take advantage of it. So it would be fair to say that you being such a good offensive lineman on such a good team would understand how to teach a defensive lineman because you know what they've been doing against you.
Yeah.
What's your last question for me?
Last question. I don't have a question, but I do have, in terms of just want to, share with you. I told you we had the fall reunion, October 17th, 18th for the pit game where I have about 60 to 70 guys sign up to return that weekend.
Okay.
We celebrate, my good friend Carl Jenkins. He is the Zunick Award recipient this year. If you don't know, the Zunick Award is something the Syracuse Football Club has put out for years. It's one of our prestigious awards where we, Mike and Judy Zunick, who, they died in 1989 on an airplane, but those guys, they're giving, always kind of exemplify their courage, their sacrifice, their good spirit, not giving up. And we give that award out to the recipient that exudes those characteristics each year. Yeah. And this year, Carl was the outright winner of that this year, and we're excited to celebrate him. We'll do our banquet and award celebration October 17th at Drumlin's, and then the next day he will be announced on the field, presented with the award on the field during the pit game. So just want to make sure that we do bring it up, and so that's a big weekend for us, and I look forward to coming down, celebrating that with Carl and my teammates, and seeing you around. You're welcome to come out to us at Drummers on Friday night if you want to, Dan, okay?
Well, I was just going to say to you, because I just was writing everything down when you were saying it, that I'd love to come. So I will accept that invitation, and then you and I can talk off the air about just the scheduling and all that stuff, but I'd be happy to come out.
Yep, I'll forward you the email for that information with the agenda, okay?
Awesome. So, Turnell Sims, I'm not going to ask you a final question because I want to end on that note. And so, October 17th and 18th, getting the band back together. And how can people, you got 60 to 70 people returning from Syracuse Orange football history for this October 17th and 18th get together by the Syracuse Football Club, honoring Carl Jenkins with the Zunick Award, like you said. And if someone wants to, that hasn't signed up yet, one of the alumni wants to come back, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, good. Listen, emails have been going out regards to the registration process. But, if they go to the SyracuseFootballClub.com, our website is all on there in terms of the time, the schedule, and registration links are there, okay? So they can click on that, you register, and make sure you get signed up as soon as possible. And we look forward to having a real good time. EJ Dowdell, he'll be DJing for us. Having a good time. We'll be tailgating before the game on Saturday. So SyracuseFootballClub.com is a website, and go there, register, and we'll hope to see everyone that weekend. And last thing is, let's get SMU this weekend. But I'm looking forward to Pitt, where my dogs who I played with, are coming back and have a good time and supporting Syracuse versus Pitt too. Okay.
That come from Turnell Sims, your president, Syracuse Football Club. Turnell, as always, I appreciate you. I send you my love, my friend, and thank you for letting me be a part of the family and treat me as well as you do. And I always look forward to seeing you, and I'll see you right before my birthday on October 17th and 18th.
All right, Dan. Take care.
You too. Have a good day.
Goodbye.
See you. That coming from Turnell Sims one more time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. We got one more step aside to take here on the show, and then we'll wrap things up. I can't believe that the show is already, it's like we get on the air, I start talking, and the show's done, and it's crazy how fast time flies when you truly are chasing your dreams and having fun. So thank you to Turnell, and thank you to all of the Syracuse alumni, those that have been on the show and those that haven't been on the show. Because if you haven't been on the show, I'd love to have you on the show. And if you have been on the show, I'd love to have you back. So shout out to Syracuse Orange football, then, now, and always. Here from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, we love you, we appreciate you, and we'd love to see you come back. We'll talk with you all right after this fast break.
And now a message from Myers Creek Brewing Company, with locations at their Cazenovia Farm Brewery, Syracuse Inner Harbor Tap Room, and soon-to-be Lake Placid Tap Room.
Well, I think first and foremost, the Feldmeyer family and our team are extremely passionate about what we do. We care very much about what we do. The Feldmeyer family is always investing. Our taproom management team, our brew management team, our marketing management team, and all of the team members that get after it every day, they leave it on the field. They put their heart and soul into it. I know for a fact that everyone that works at Myers Creek wants to be there, and we want them to be there. We want them to feel good about their job. And again, if you've never been to a Myers Creek, especially to the brewery, I want your eyes to open really big. I want you to see how big of a brand this is. I want you to see where we're going. The sky is the limit, and I feel very proud of that, and I'm very excited about that. When you think of designing a menu for a brewery, it's kind of open to a lot of different interpretations. You can do American, you can do Asian, you can do Italian, and you just have to find, how that meets that pub style dining experience, that gastropub vibe. And I think it's super fun for us because obviously we know that, everyone in the world is going to sell a pizza or a burger or a French fry, but what can we do to be different? And what can we do to be true to who we are? We are a brewery, a brew pub. So the flavor profiles are kind of all over the place. And I think it's super cool that we have a massive smoker at the brewery in Cazenovia, and we smoke a lot of our products. A delicious smoked turkey. We have barbecue ribs on Sundays. From a pulled pork sandwich to a chicken wing, you go to the Inner Harbor and you go to the Kaz location and you'll find similarities in the menu, but also things that are a little different and also kind of fit those different demographics or different communities, and also hopefully just drive you to try every tap room that we have open at some point, because you get a little something different at each one. We understand how hard it is to, work every day and get after it every day, and when you're done at the end of your day, you want to go out and put your feet up in a good ambiance and good environment. So we take pride in that. We make sure that everyone knows that they're very much valued to us.
In these unique times, There are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they're always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McInerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Life gets busy, and sometimes that means us running around. So K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare offers you an opportunity to give your dog a place to stay while you take care of what you need to throughout the day. K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare is located on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, New York. You can see it from the highway, and it's just off of Erie Boulevard across from BJ's Wholesale Club. Call 315-437-7110. That's 315-437-7110 to schedule an appointment to bring your dog in and tour the facility. Appointments are Monday through Thursday after 6:30, where you and your dog can see everything that K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare has to offer, including a self-serve dog wash and a retail store filled with all of your dog's wants and needs, including food, treats, harnesses, leashes, and more, making K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare your one-stop shop for your furry-loving friend. Right, Lily?
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, is your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. Make sure you make your way over to GG Cards and Breaks today and let them know that DT sent you their way. Over at GG Cards and Breaks, you'll find everything from packs and boxes to open, as well as singles and graded cards there for you while supplies last. You never know what you're going to find at GG Cards and Breaks, and if you find it there today, it may not be there. I'm not going to say it may not be there tomorrow. It may not be there in an hour. So make sure that you go over to GG Cards and Breaks, open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6, and on Sundays from 10 to 5, where you get to be a big kid and stay a big kid. No matter how old you are, you can always collect your favorite team and go out there and try to find your favorite player. And they're the only place that I know that has every MLB, every NBA, and every NFL team on their back wall with their own box for you to look through. And of course, you can also find Disney Lorcana, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, and One Piece while supplies last. Big time thanks to Chick-fil-A in DeWitt. Head out to Chick-fil-A in DeWitt on the corner of Bridge and Erie today to try the new Pretzel Cheddar Club. For a limited time, the Pretzel Cheddar Club is out there for you, and you can get it with the original chicken, spicy chicken, or grilled chicken with bacon, cheddar cheese, Dijon mustard inside of a pretzel roll, and it is so very good. I've been thinking about it, and I finally got to try it. Go and get the limited time Pretzel Cheddar Club at Chick-fil-A DeWitt on the corner of Bridge and Erie. And like I said, original, spicy, or grilled, 3 different ways, Pretzel Cheddar Club. Go and get it today at Chick-fil-A DeWitt. And big time thanks to Megan Sorber and her team. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios and inside of Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com's What's Poppin', our trio of segments we do every Friday. The Annoying Moment of the Week, proudly presented by Carvel DeWitt. Thanks to them. Thanks to Chick-fil-A Cicero for lead, learn, evolve, ad-lib, and deliver. Many thanks to K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare for the top dog of the week. And, of course, to my guy, Turnell Sims, and our friendship and our time that we get to spend together over the years. Many thanks to Turnell, Syracuse Orange Football alum of the offensive line, a member of the 1987 undefeated team, as there's only 2 undefeated teams in Syracuse football history, 1959's national championship team, and the 1987 team that Turnell was a part of under Coach Dick McPherson, Coach Mack. So many thanks to Turnell, your Syracuse Football Club President, and make sure that you go to SyracuseFootballClub.com if you are an alum of the Syracuse Orange football program and sign up to be a part of their fall event, which is October 17th and 18th, where Carl Jenkins will be honored with the Zunick Award, honoring the Zunick family. So many thanks to Turnell for being on the show today, and God bless to all of the Syracuse Orange football players then, now, and in the future. So many thanks to all of them. And of course, youtube.com and facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT is where you've been with us up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, and the West Coast, and all around the globe. And of course, you've also been with us on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. We are live Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And of course, we'll have the opportunity to be with you next week on Monday in our normal time. But then from there, Tuesday through Friday, I will be airing specials on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora that'll all be airing at 9 a.m. Eastern Time daily, because I will be pulling double duty, as well, actually triple duty. I'll be bringing you Wake Up Call specials. I will be at ACC Tip-Off covering all 18 schools inside of ACC basketball, and I'll be covering New York Comic-Con for our entertainment show, Superpowered Pop. So next week is going to bring you a lot of cool things, and I'm very excited to share those with you. Of course, you can find the show on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you got to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT, and I've added a bunch of shows there, including my special with Will Allen just got added, as well as our fantasy football advice for Week 5 of the 2025-26 NFL season. And many thanks to our wonderful team of partners in Central and Upstate New York: Great Lakes Honda City, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Myers Creek, the home of Wake Up Call Game Day for all Syracuse home football games. Our next one will be October 18th when Syracuse takes on Pittsburgh. Of course, many thanks to Game Point Sports Complex, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world, as well as K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare, Pizza Man, Chick-fil-A DeWitt, K-9 Campground Dog Boarding, Mother's Cupboard, Brian's Landing, Avicoli's, and we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse. You will find the Bobcats every single month here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, with student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni joining the show in what we call the Bobcat Buzz. Find it all by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the BSC Syracuse playlist. You'll also find the Bobcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. The Bearcats joining us where sports meets life, with student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni. You could find all of our content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Binghamton playlist. You'll also find the Bearcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. The Onondaga Community College Lasers are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your lasers every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Every other Wednesday, they are with us here. So every other Wednesday on Wake Up Call, you will find the lasers Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern time, and that every other Wednesday they were with us October 1st, so the next time they will be with us is October 15th at 9 a.m. Eastern time, bi-monthly, and this month it'll actually be because of how the Wednesdays fall, so we'll have them on the 1st, the 15th, and the 29th, so you just heard from them this week on the 1st with Paul Clark of the cross-country and track and field teams at OCC, and he's gotten a ton of support, and it continues to come in. So shout out to everybody showing love to Paul Clark. Really appreciate seeing that. And of course, you can go back and watch our special and see everything with OCC on Wake Up Call by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our OCC playlist. You also find the lasers by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to onondagalasers.com and go Lasers. With that being said, here on the show, I want to thank you for tuning in this week. We have done so much, under promise, over deliver. We consistently go over 2 hours. We did it again today. And on Wednesday, I believe I did 4 hours. So we started a little bit after 9 and we went past 1 p.m. Eastern time. So we thank you for being with us. And like I said, Murph and I will be with you on Monday. And then we got a bunch of specials coming up for you. I have a special with Syracuse and NFL defensive line alum Eric Kroom to talk about a bunch of things, both sports and life. Then I will be featuring a special with Pete Moore, the trainer over at Cicero North Syracuse that trains kids all over Central and upstate New York. Can't wait to have that special with Pete Moore being in the Great Lakes Honda City studios with me. I will have a special with the American Conference Commissioner Tim Pernetti. Very excited about that. And of course, we'll have a Binghamton Bearcat break room. So can't wait to showcase all of those for you next week. And I send you all my love. I love you all. I appreciate y'all. And let's just be nice to each other. Let's be kind. Life is not hard. People are. And just be good to each other. If everyone was good to the next person, this world could change literally today, within seconds. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. Let love spread like wildfire. Have a great day. God bless. No stress. Do your best. From the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, this is Wake Up Call. You're amazing. And by the way, in just a few minutes here, at noon Eastern time, my special with SMU Mustangs quarterback Kevin Jennings is about to air. So check it out. Take care.